most people that we run into, unless they're meeting with an advisor and a good advisor, they are not ready to inherit that in a way that they get the most out of it.
What happened is mom inherited that money. My dad had a business. They sold the business. She inherited that money, and she came to me as an advisor, and she's like, yes, you're my son, but I need you to put your advisor hat on.
If you ask any advisor if they're a fiduciary, I don't think any of them would say no. But what I do find is, and I'll pick on myself, the 22-year-old Dave that started as a financial advisor, was he a fiduciary? I would have said yes, because that's what the companies train you to say. But I just didn't know what I didn't know.
Welcome to the Financial Puzzle Playbook Podcast with your host, Jim Sumpter. I'm RJ Malik, producer of the podcast. And Jim, the core of your podcast is the 6 puzzle piece playbook. So which piece of the puzzle will you be discussing on this podcast?
So RJ, first of all, great to see you. This one's going to be interesting because we're going to focus, I guess, in the beginning on retirement, sort of, and then we're going to expand out. Ultimately, we'll probably cover everything. Okay. So, cash flow, investments, insurance, retirement, planning, tax, estate. That's the whole thing about financial planning. And we're going to talk today a lot about financial planning. And I have with me one of my favorite people. We're talking about maybe taking this show on the road. We'll have to see how this goes. Dave Pulcini is all the way in Birmingham today. From New York. I guess he got cold up there or something, came down here where it's a balmy 35, 36 degrees, which is probably a little different than Rochester.
It's a 40-degree increase.
40-degree increase.
Yeah, so I'll take it.
So, Dave, welcome to the show. We're going to look forward to having you today.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Yeah.
Okay, absolutely. So first of all, you have your own podcast. So you're not shy behind the mic. We're going to try to keep this episode to 2.5, 3 hours, something like that.
See how long people last.
That's right. It will not be that long. It will not be that long. But so Dave, again, welcome to the show. Just by way of introduction, maybe talk about your background. You're an advisor, just like I am. You own your own firm, just like I own my own firm. But we're friends. We're colleagues. We're both certified financial planners, which we're going to kind of get into that a little bit. What does that look like? But talk about your background, and then we're going to jump into your podcast.
So I started as an advisor in 2003, right out of college. And it was one of those, I didn't know that I wanted to be an advisor. It wasn't like a career path back then. It was just kind of I fell into it. And really long story short, I was going to school for engineering, and my wife was interning at a financial advisor's office. Okay. And I don't know if you know this.
I do not.
She's like, you should not be doing engineering. You should do financial planning. You'll love this. She goes, they make a lot of money and they don't do anything.
There you go.
And I was like, as a 20-year-old guy, I'm like, yeah, I want to do that. I want to make a lot of money and I don't want to do anything. So I'm in. So then I started interviewing at different firms, and I ended up working with AXA Equitable, AXA Advisors at the time, because when I was 23 and I looked like I was 12, who's going to let me do their financial planning?
Right.
So they had a market for me to go to at the time with public school teachers.
Right.
So I went around and I set up just a tremendous number of 403B accounts, one by one. Then I ended up getting into financial planning. But so I was there for 15 years. And then in 2018, we started 6 Point Financial Partners. And which is interesting because your 6 puzzle pieces are exactly like our 6 points.
Yeah, well,
almost word for word.
It's kind of interesting because I mentioned we're both certified financial planners, and we're going to kind of get into what does that mean? What is it? So there's a number 6 that means something, and I'm sure we'll touch on that.
Yeah. So started 6 Point, our own firm in 2018, and it's been 7 years of doing that and getting into the planning process and refining and getting better and helping clients out.
Living the dream. Huh?
Living the dream, yeah.
So let me ask you, though, do you actually work or do you still do nothing?
Yeah. Well, okay, let me back way up. I think in my first year I worked, I still have my calendar, actually the old paper calendar that we had in 2003. And I think I averaged around 70 to 80 hours a week, and I made $14,000.
Okay.
So it was the absolute opposite of they don't do anything and they make a lot of money.
Okay.
I actually did a ton and made no money. So should have been a red flag for my wife right
So
there.
so here's what's interesting. So you started in this business. I started in banking. Okay. And I was gonna be a banker, I was gonna be rich, and I was gonna play a lot of golf.
Yeah, there you
Okay.
go.
I did none of those. And so in 1992, when I graduated from college, so I'm a couple years older than you.
Or you're really smart and got out early.
Absolutely.
There you go.
That's what it is. We'll go with that. But I started working in the branch management side of AmSouth Bank, which is today, they were acquired by Regions, or merged with Regions. And I got offered $20,800 a year with $1,000 signing bonus. That's why I was going to be rich.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And my first paycheck, I've told this story, but I don't know if you know this story. My first paycheck, I get it, and I kind of look like Clark Griswold when he's looking at the Jelly of the Month Club. You know, he gives this puzzled look. It's not quite as much as I thought. So I was like, huh, they took out some things. So I called my dad, and I was like, hey, can you go over my paycheck with me? And he's like, yeah, sure. So we go over it, and I said, who the hell's FICA, and why are they taking my money? You know, and he goes, well, son, that's your retirement. And I said, Dad, and this is a true story. I said, Dad, I'm 22 years old. Why do I need to be worried about retirement?
Yeah.
And now I'm a financial planner, and I talk to people about retirement every day.
Yeah.
And so it's very interesting how we get that first job. We really don't know what we're doing, but we get some experience, and then we start developing a career path, if you will. And it's interesting because we both sort of did that differently, but we're sort of at the same place at the end result. So, Dave, let me ask you about this. So you have a podcast called The Great Wealth Transfer. Okay. That's sort of a phenomenon going on in our country now for probably the next many, many years. Talk about that a little bit. What is the Great Wealth Transfer? Why is it important? Is it really a thing? And maybe just touch on your podcast and sort of how you hit that.
Yeah. So the Great Wealth Transfer, the phenomenon is that an estimated $84 trillion will be passed down from just the demographics in the United States, right? 10,000 people a day are turning 65. The baby boomers have most of the wealth that is going to somebody. And the planning behind that, the things that we need to do and prepare for, there's a lot of nuance to it. And my podcast, The Great Wealth Transfer, is trying to answer some of those questions, common pitfalls, which we can talk about if you want to. But it's a massive wealth shift. We've never seen it before. And most people that we run into, unless they're meeting with an advisor and a good advisor, they are not ready to inherit that in a way that they get the most out of it. So I want people to efficiently inherit money or houses or all of that stuff. So I answer common questions. I try to do it quickly, 5 to 10 minute videos or clips on just simple things like, should I put my house in a trust?
Right.
Or should my parents do this? How do I prepare for Medicaid planning? What do we do for Medicare? All the things.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the Great Wealth Transfer is a big deal. People are inheriting money. We run into it all the time as advisors. And it's actually, the reason I did it was driving me crazy when you run into people a little bit too late, right? 2 years, we did this with my parents' house, or I took this IRA out because I thought I had to. And it's like, okay, I need to start doing something about this. So that's my small way of contributing to the public education on the Great Wealth Transfer.
Well, I think it's a phenomenal thing. I'm actually a listener, a subscriber to your show. And the reason I bring that up, so I've been an advisor for, 25, almost 30 years.
Yeah.
And obviously I know how to do my job, but we're always learning.
Oh yeah.
And, as professionals, I tell people all the time, nobody has a monopoly on good ideas. And so we can all learn from each other. I actually do listen to your show. I have it on my podcast list, and randomly, if it's between a good song and your podcast, depending on the song, sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. But one thing that's interesting about it is it's a 10 to 15 minute clip, and I can do it on my drive home, or I can do it on my drive in.
Yep.
And it just sort of, either ends your day, gets it ready for the day. And so I didn't bring you on to talk about your podcast specifically, but what I did is I wanted to talk about this concept of the great wealth transfer because that is something that is real. I love demographics, and in this country, we've all heard baby boomers. There's more baby boomers. They're starting to pass away, and so what's happening is Gen X, which is my generation, is beginning to inherit this money. I've talked on the show and we've talked a good bit about this sandwich generation, which is me, because I'm taking care of kids. I have a daughter that's engaged. We're planning a wedding. Yeah. And then I have my mom up here who me or my sisters talk to every week. Now, my mom's cognitive. She's doing great. She lives by herself. My father, unfortunately, passed away. But what happened is mom inherited that money. My dad had a business. They sold the business. She inherited that money, and she came to me as an advisor, and she's like, yes, you're my son, but I need you to put your advisor hat on. Yeah. And we get that all the time from just clients because sometimes you don't really know what you don't know. And I think that's what your show does a great job of. Yeah. So let me ask you this. So you're a certified financial planner. I'm a certified financial planner. When did you get that?
2019, actually.
Okay.
So 16 years in.
Wow.
And it was the volume, as you know, of the material. I hadn't taken a test in like 20 years.
Right.
You jump right into a CFP. That was it was a lot.
Yeah, so, it is.
It's not an easy test.
Well,
but I got it.
Well, so I actually teach CFP courses to people who are taking those classes. Yeah. And I, so I'm a nerd, I admit it. Readily. You have to admit things, So I teach primarily the income tax and the estate planning course, which I would argue are probably the two meatiest courses of all of them. Also teach retirement income planning, insurance. I can teach all of them, but one of the reasons I do it is because I want to give back. But then secondly, it keeps me fresh. Because like last night, we're rocking and rolling on things that are obscure things within the tax code, whether it's divorce or alimony or who's a dependent, who's not a dependent. Yeah. In a couple of weeks, we'll be getting to inherited IRAs. Retirement. I'm inheriting this retirement account. You and I were talking prior to the show. We don't ever really go and say, okay, well, it's absolutely this way. Because there are so many different rules, there are so many exceptions, and it is so very specific, which is where I'm going to dovetail to the next topic. Yeah. Okay. If someone is they're a recipient of an inheritance, whether it be a life insurance proceed, an IRA, a retirement account of some sort, a house, a bulldozer, a backhoe. If it's a farm, I've had those. I had a client last year. They inherited some oil wells. They inherited some pipelines that runs energy through it. Well, that's royalties. That's income. That is a different set of circumstances than someone who inherits life insurance proceeds. Okay. And so as a CFP, as a financial planner, we obviously want people to come to us. We're both, in a position where we're growing our practices, we're growing things like that, and we want to help more people. But what should someone really look for? You've inherited this money. Now what do you do? Yeah.
That's such a good question. So obviously you want to try to prepare for it ahead of time. Now, what you find is families aren't, and maybe not by choice, they just don't know, like how open should you be with your mom, for example? I mean, you know it because she made you put your advisor hat on. But
yeah.
So most folks don't talk to their parents about exactly what they would be getting. So if you could do that, I would start there because that gives us a head start. But once you get the money or the house or the oil well, right?
Yeah. Or the bulldozer.
You know what I think would be helpful? You're a tax guy.
Yeah.
Can I quiz you right now?
Sure.
Okay.
May or may not answer the question, but go ahead.
Well, if you don't know the answer, just say it depends. All right. So listen, I inherit some type of thing, and I'm going to list out some things, and you just have to tell me if it's taxable or not.
Okay. I'm inheriting this.
I'm inheriting this from I'll say my dad.
Okay.
And you just have to say, is it taxable? So I inherit an traditional IRA from my dad. Are there taxes? owed?
Immediately, no.
So when do I pay taxes on that?
When I take money out.
Yep. Okay. So what about a Roth IRA?
Immediately, no.
Any taxes at all for me?
No.
What about his house?
Immediately, no.
Such a tax guy.
Here's the thing. When you, and I'm going to let you finish your list,
Yep.
but when you inherit money,
Yep.
you don't pay tax immediately
Yep.
because we don't pay tax on inheritance. But the type of asset that we receive,
Exactly. Yep.
we could potentially pay tax down the road.
Right. And this is the biggest fear that people have.
Right.
Is I inherit this thing. Do I have $1 million tax bill or
Right.
something? So,
Right.
so my dad bought a house for $250,000.
Right.
It's now worth $400,000.
Right.
I inherit that house.
Mm-hmm.
What do I owe taxes on if I sell it for $400,000?
Nothing, because what you get what's called a stepped up cost basis.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Stepped up cost basis is one of the most fascinating parts of the tax code. Hope it stays in. You know, at least in 2025, it is in. But what step up means is exactly what it says. It steps up to the fair market value on date of death. Okay. Now there is a part of the code where there's an alternate valuation, but we won't get into that.
Yeah.
But most people, you're going to take the step up cost basis. And this is where this is fascinating, because what happens is people think, oh my gosh, I'm going to have this huge bill. Now, I will ask you this question. So you're in New York.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the Pennsylvania inheritance tax?
No.
Okay.
No.
So Pennsylvania inheritance tax, if you're a resident of Pennsylvania, okay, and you pass away, whoever inherits your money, it doesn't matter where they live, they're going to pay inheritance tax to the state of Pennsylvania. There's 2 states in the union, Pennsylvania and Maryland, that have that type of tax. Here's my point, is every situation is unique.
Yep.
Every situation is specific to you, to your set of circumstances.
Right.
There's not a cookie cutter way to do it, and there's not a right or wrong. Okay. So what I would encourage people to do is to seek out a competent advisor. And this is where we're going to put on the hat of a CFP. I'm going to reference an article, and we're actually going to put this in the show notes. This was done by Kiplinger. I believe it was in 2018. And the title of it is How to Get the Right Financial Advice That's Right for You.
Yep.
And this was in Kiplinger magazine. And, you know, one of the things it talks about in there is how to vet an advisor. So Dave, if someone's coming in to you and they're a prospect, they've inherited some money, or they've come into some money, or they're retiring or whatever, when you sit down with them, do you immediately start talking about asset allocation and what they need to do with their investments and stuff like that, or do you have a different conversation?
It's different, and that's actually where I was headed with the last thing. Was with the taxes, yes or no, and it depends. And
and you can finish that list.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we could keep going, guys. I mean, there's life insurance, there's stuff, there's baseball cards, coins, oil wells, all the. So the answer is almost always it depends. Which, by the way, makes it hard for a financial advisor to what do we actually do?
Right.
So. Our first meetings, no, I don't talk about asset allocation. I don't even like using those words, to be honest, and jargon. I actually say the pie chart.
The pie chart.
What's your pie chart look like? Still not even in a first meeting usually. When a client sets a meeting with us for a first meeting, we actually have a video that goes out to them as part of our confirmation. And it's what I say in there is, when you come in for this meeting, it's just a conversation. I'm going to ask you really 2 questions. There's a part A and part B in there, but it's what brought you in today? What made you seek out a financial advisor right now? There's usually some catalyst or some event that's happened, and it could be I'm inheriting some money and I don't know what to do, or I'm about to retire, or I want to know if I have enough money, whatever it is. So there's some answer to what brought you in today. Then I say, so have you worked with an advisor before? If they say no, then I would get into, let me just show you how we work and how we help people. If they say yes, I then say, so what did you like about what that advisor did for you? And what do you think they could have done better?
Mm-hmm.
And I almost always get the same answer for what do you think they could have done better? I never heard from them. They only talk to me about my investments, which I know this is what we're going to head down this path.
Right.
They only talk to me ever about my investments. I get a lot of folks that are like, they only talk to one of the spouses. right? I don't feel like the spouse is involved. And typically it's a wife that's like, I'm not that she's not interested, but the advisor's not talking to that person. And sometimes it's the other way around, but I get a lot of they didn't communicate. They didn't do anything else besides the investments, which is the opposite of what you're talking about with real financial planning.
Right.
So after they tell me the catalyst, so what brought you in today? And then I say, have you worked with somebody before? I then honestly use their answer to start molding what could we do for this person and with this person.
Right.
And sometimes, depending on their situation, and I know you do the same thing. I say, you know what, it might make sense for you to meet with John in my office. He's really good at that thing. Or now I know if there's somebody in Pennsylvania that inherits money, I'm going to say, you should talk to Jim. He knows the tax law. By the way, what's the percentage for that? What does Pennsylvania take? Do you know?
So, yeah, I do. It depends.
Yes. All right.
Here's what it depends on. What is your relationship to the decedent? If you're a spouse, it's 0.
Okay.
If you're a sibling, if you're a child, I believe it's like 4%. If you're a sibling, then it's somewhere around like 12.
Wow.
If you are a niece, a nephew, a friend, a sister-in-law, a brother-in-law, a pastor, whatever, 15.
And that's of everything?
Yes. Yeah. So
starting at 0?
So if you have $1 million that someone owned and they pass away in Pennsylvania, there's a $150,000 tax bill that is going to the state of Pennsylvania. It's called an inheritance tax.
That's
now,
so interesting.
There's forms and there's some calculations. So the math could be different in someone's specific situation, but that's the concept. 2 states in the union, Maryland and Pennsylvania. So here's my point is when you're looking at an advisor, you want a trusted advisor that's going to understand your specific situation, what you can do, things of that nature. Now, there's ways to get around some of the tax implication using trust and things like that. So it's a lot of the planning. You alluded to a minute ago, I wish they had come in 2 years earlier because there's some things that you could have done.
Yeah.
We do a lot of clients when we're talking about, one of my favorite things that, not a favorite thing, but one of the common things that we hear is, I don't want them to take my house.
Oh, yeah.
Or I just did an entire episode on, should I be a signer on mom's checking account?
Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah. I mean, there's all of these financial planning topics. The whole point of our show, whole point of your show, is all these different topics. And, probably what happens a lot of times when you talk to somebody, say, what do you think a financial advisor does?
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite questions.
Yeah.
Generally,
golf.
Yeah. Golf, don't work, well, all the things that you thought that they did in the beginning, made a ton of money, whatever. And so what we really do is I think we listen. I think we understand the situation and we apply different rules and different parts of a puzzle to their specific situation.
Hi everyone, I'm Cassidy, the second C in CMC Financial. So Dad sometimes gets on a roll with this podcast and might forget to remind you about a few things. 1, don't forget to like and share this podcast and leave a review. 2, follow CMC Financial on all of the socials, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And 3, go check out the website at cmcfp.com. Okay, back to my dad. He's probably still talking.
This article that I referenced, it talks about the interview. It talks about doing a background check.
On the advisor?
On the advisor.
Interesting, yeah.
On the CFP.
Yeah.
It even has the website, how to review their CFP status.
Oh,
how to review, a lot of what we do is public information. As far as about information about us, so someone can really vet your advisor.
Well, it's just simple Google search. I feel like everybody, if you have a meeting with any professional now and you're not searching them ahead of time, that's crazy.
Right. No, I totally agree. This gets into the different types of planners, whether it's a fee only, whether it's a commission, whether it's a commission and fee sort of mix, which is what we are at our firm. And it talks about, just really, the questions to ask, one of the big buzzwords now is, are you a fiduciary?
Mm. That one is
do you get that question
all the time?
Yeah.
And
so what is your answer? Are we fiduciaries? And what is a fiduciary?
oh my gosh, this is an hour.
Okay. We got I'm going to give you about 45 seconds to answer
Yes.
this question.
So the answer is yes, I'm a fiduciary. But let me say this to the listener is, if you ask any advisor if they're a fiduciary, I don't think any of them would say no. But what I do find is, and I'll pick on myself, the 22-year-old Dave that started as a financial advisor, was he a fiduciary? I would have said yes, because that's what the companies train you to say. But I just didn't know what I didn't know.
Right.
So are some I could say, yes, I'm a fiduciary, but my question would be, are some fiduciaries better than other fiduciaries? Right? Like, so fiduciary is just, you have to act in the client's best interest. Of course, we're trying to do that. Unless there's some like crazy selfish advisor that's literally just trying to sell something to make some money, which does happen.
Right.
Right. But they would still say they're a fiduciary.
Right.
So I never run into somebody that said no. And maybe we'll get some responses from this, and advisors will say, I'm not a fiduciary.
Yeah.
So that was more than 45 seconds, and I could keep
No,
going,
that's
but it's
okay.
like one of those,
Yeah.
Of course, and I think people look, what questions should I ask an advisor? And the number one thing is, you should ask them if they're a fiduciary. Well, the answer is always going to be yes, but the average consumer or prospect or prospective client doesn't know to dig deeper than that. Now they've checked that box off. I've asked if they're a fiduciary, and they said yes. Okay, everything must be great.
Right.
Well, it's also like, are some doctors better than others? They all took the oath, right?
Yeah. They all passed a board.
So attorneys, same
Yeah.
thing. Like, so we could say yes, but it's going to be different. Fiduciaries are different. Which sounds funny, but it's true.
Yeah.
So,
well, so as a CFP, when you pass the Certified Financial Planner exam, you have to have a certain number of hours in the industry, and you have to have some background. When you follow all the criteria and you're able to use the marks, we are fiduciaries, which means we're legally liable for acting in the client's best interest. That's literally what that means. And we have a responsibility. We have a code of ethics. We have a responsibility to the client. We have a responsibility to be comprehensive. And someone doesn't walk in my door looking for a type of financial product. Someone walks in my door looking for advice. And I think that's important. And I think that's a question that you would want to ask, is the person that you're interviewing or person that you're vetting to potentially answer these questions for you and answer, all of the scenarios of, can you help me? Here's what I will say. Nobody is going to know everything. Nobody is going to be an expert in everything. There is no team out there that is absolutely going to know everything. But I think you have to trust the person. You have to like them.
Yep.
And you have to have a sense of this is what that they understand what they're doing, or they have put a team in place. As we begin to wrap up, I'll throw out a couple of questions that I always ask people, or always make sure they understand, and then you finish it up, and then just any final thoughts.
this went really fast. I feel like we didn't even start yet.
We really didn't, and so here's what's going to happen, because I know us. We've talked about taking this on the road. We're going to probably have a part 2. Maybe a part 3. It may be remote, at some point, and that's okay. That works. But, one thing I always have people ask is, how are you paid? I think it's important to understand how the advisor is compensated.
Yep.
I think it's important to understand their service model. And I think it's important to understand what is their background.
Yeah.
Not everybody has. I have a finance degree, an economics degree. Little known fact, although I've made it public, I also have a Japanese minor. Yeah. So these are interesting things about Jim. I know very little Japanese, but I have it.
Yeah.
And then I have a master's in taxation and tax law. And so now, does that make me an expert in tax? Absolutely not. But what it does is it puts me in a position to where I can help clients to at least understand the answer.
Yeah.
And so what are a couple questions, just as you begin to wrap up, that you think are important that someone should ask?
I love the how do you get paid.
Mhm.
If you really want to push it, I think an interesting one is if a prospective client said, "Can I see your financial plan?"
Ah.
Does the advisor themselves have their plan in order? Do you follow your own process?
Mhm.
Are you investing in the same things that I am?
Mhm. Mhm.
I've considered, Jim, actually starting a consulting firm where I go with prospective clients to meet with advisors with them
Yeah.
and just saying, "Hey, this person's a good fit for you or not."
Yeah.
You're not working with me. You're just paying me to come in and ask these questions for you.
Interesting.
But we have a list of 15 questions you should ask. Put that on our website. I could keep going on the questions you should ask, but I think you've nailed the. Are you a fiduciary? And then I dig deeper.
Yeah.
Like, please dig deeper on that. How
Yeah.
long have you been around? How many clients do you work with that are like us or in a similar situation?
Yeah.
Because if I'm working with somebody with oil wells and then I have a person trying to do a Medicaid trust,
Mhm.
like
Those
and
are very different things.
it's all different
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And again, the answer is always it depends. But so yeah, fiduciary fee question is an important one. I would ask if they have financial plans. How do you get invested? Do you get paid for one investment more than another? Do you have any? What are your conflicts of interest?
Mhm.
And it's not, do you have any conflicts of interest? It's what is your conflict of interest?
Right. Right.
Because there is going to be one in any
Right.
of those models that we get paid on.
Right.
So I could stop there. I don't want to
Yeah.
bombard people, but I can also send you the list to throw on the episode show notes.
Yeah,
too.
that'll be great. Why don't you do that? We'll add that to the show notes as well. And then here's the thing: you and I both own our individual firms, where we work with the same RIA,
Mhm.
RFG Advisory. Theoretically, we're competitors, but more importantly, we're friends and we're colleagues. And I'm going to go back to nobody has a monopoly on good ideas.
Yeah.
I will steal an idea from somebody, readily admit it.
Yeah.
And it's one of the most pleasurable things that we do, I think, is to be able to help more people. And that's the whole point of everything. So, Dave, we're going to wrap there. We will do an episode 2, 3, 4. Who knows if we start a whole series on this thing?
Let's list the questions and actually answer them.
Yeah,
that'd be a good episode.
That would actually be a really good episode.
Yeah.
So, well, RJ, I'm going to throw it back to you. And
RJ says that's enough, guys.
I'm waving the white flag. Dave, before you go, how about some contact information?
Yeah, so I mean, it just literally, like I said in the episode, you could just Google David Pulcini, Pulcini, in Rochester, New York. 6 Point Financial Partners. I'm on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, any of that stuff. Anyone can find me there.
And if someone wanted to find your podcast, is the best way to go to your website and then you've got it linked there, or YouTube, or what?
We're leaning more into the YouTube stuff. I would check
YouTube.
out the 6 Point Financial YouTube channel.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And I'm going to tout that because it's a great channel. I think it's a great resource for information. And then RJ, if someone wanted to get us, it's cmcfp.com. My direct is 205-510-9074. Call or text. We're on all the socials as well. And we too have a YouTube channel, although we're trying to grow like 6 Point is on the YouTube. So that's all we have for today. We'll throw it back to you, and we will absolutely do a 2, 3, 4, 5, and who knows, maybe a series.
I always end with make it a great day.
Make it a great day. Absolutely.
Excellent. Thank you. And most importantly, thank you for listening to the Financial Puzzle Playbook podcast. We ask you to share this podcast, rate it, and leave a review because this actually helps others find the show. Again, thank you for listening. And for Jim, Dave, and everyone at the Financial Puzzle Playbook, I'm RJ Malik, and we'll see you at the next podcast.